Hello, welcome to my channel, IELTS Crusher, and I'm your number one IELTS instructor, Peter Agmantine. In this channel, you get all the information, all the tips, and all the strategies that you require to excel in your IELTS examination. And in today's video, I have something very important, very interesting, and very enlightening to discuss with you. But before we get into this interesting discussion we'll be having today, let me implore you, if you already haven't done that, kindly subscribe to my channel. And the reason for that is I post videos on this channel about everything IELTS. So we discuss all of the modules of IELTS, the writing module, the listening, the reading, speaking, everything that you require to excel in your IELTS examination are contained in the videos that I'll be posting. So if you subscribe to my channel, you will always get the videos when I post them. And secondly, I'd like to implore you also that you share these videos, that those that you care about, your family members, your friends, and even other people that are on your list that you care about can have access to the important information that are contained in the videos that I post. So let's dive into the subject matter of today's discussion. I already told you it's going to be something interesting, and that's how to write an excellent introductory paragraph for an IELTS Writing Task 2 question. How to write an excellent introductory paragraph for an IELTS Writing Task 2 question. And by the way, this is a sequel to a series of videos that I'm making on IELTS Writing Task 2. Now, in the first video on this in this series, I did tell you that there are 5 steps involved in writing an IELTS essay. When they give you an IELTS Writing Task 2 question, to respond to that question, there are 5 steps that you have to take. And I began to give you a step-by-step guide. So in the first video, I discussed the first step, which is question analysis. In the second video, I discussed the second step, which is idea generation. So by the way, if you haven't watched those videos, you may need to watch them because your understanding of this video hinges heavily on your understanding of the previous video, because this is a continuation to the things we already said in those videos, to the discussions we already have had in those videos. So that's why I will implore you to go back and watch those videos and not only watch this one. And so the first step is what we want to discuss today. And in that first step is about the introductory paragraph. Now, when you've analyzed the question and you've generated ideas for it, as I discussed in the 2 previous videos, the next thing is for you to write your introductory paragraph. And how to write that introductory paragraph, that's my focus today. And I want to show you a way in which you write your introductory paragraph that you can get a high score, like 7.0 and above. And so follow me on this journey. Now, your essay, your writing task 2, your essay is going to have 3 parts. So the 3 parts of the essay are this. Number 1, you have what we call the introduction. You should see that on the screen shortly. So you have what we call the introduction. You have what we call body paragraphs, and you also have what we call concluding paragraphs. So these are the 3 parts that your essay will have. So, or you can see them here: the introduction, you have the body, and you also have the conclusion. Now, the way it works is that the introduction is just a paragraph long, just 1 paragraph, and the body will be 2 or 3 paragraphs. So sometimes you write 2 body paragraphs, sometimes you write 3, depending on the question. And as I'll get along, I will be explaining to you circumstances that warrant you to write 2 body paragraphs and situations that will prompt you to write 3 body paragraphs. And then, of course, the conclusion is also only 1 paragraph long. So I'll be discussing with you in this video how to write an excellent introductory paragraph, as I already said. And so the first paragraph of your essay matters because that actually sets the tone for your essay. It gives is a foundation of your essay, as it were. Now, what the introductory paragraph is to your essay, that's what the foundation is to a building. And a building is as strong as its foundation. And so if you have a strong foundation for a building, you have the hope of having a strong building. But if you have a weak foundation, then something will go wrong. If you have a poor foundation. So the introductory paragraph is also the foundation of your essay. So if you have a poorly written introductory paragraph, that will impact your overall essay or your overall writing. And so it's very, very important for you to get the introduction right. And how to do that is what this video is concerned about. Now, for you to write a good introductory paragraph, there are two components. That means your introductory paragraph will have 2 components, and these 2 components are this. Number 1, you've got what you call background statement, and number two, we have what you call the thesis statement. So these are the two components of your introductory paragraph. I'm saying that for you to have an introductory paragraph, you write the first part of your introduction is what you call an introduction. So you write your introductory paragraph, or it's the background statement. Sorry. So the first part of the introduction is a background statement, and the second part is a thesis statement. So the combination of the background statement and thesis statement, that's what forms your introductory paragraph. I said the combination of your background statement and the combination of your thesis statement, that's what forms your introductory paragraph. So it means then that for us to know how to write a good introductory paragraph, all we just have to do is to know how to write the background statement, and we also learn how to write the thesis statement. So by the time we master this and we write a good background statement and a good thesis statement, we will have an excellent introduction. And so let me start the discussion by explaining to you how to write the background statement, which is the first part of your introductory paragraph. Now, you have to understand something, and that is IELTS essay questions, all right, that we discussed in the first video, usually have 2 or 3 sentences. So the essay questions sometimes will have 3 sentences, sometimes they will have 2. Okay. Now, for example, take a look at these ones that you've got on the screen. And the first question here, has 2 sentences. And by the way, the end of a sentence when you see a full stop or a question mark, because these are sentence ending markers in English. So when you see a sentence, it says that that's the end of a sentence. You see a question mark, that also lets you know that that's the end of a sentence. And so in this case, when you have cities and you have a full stop after it, that means that's the end of a sentence. Here you have dwell as a question mark, that's the end of a sentence. So it means then that this question has 2 sentences. Now let me show you. So the second question has 3 sentences. The first one stops at illegal. The second one stops at building. The third one stops at disagree. So this has 3 sentences. So there's illegal, there's building, there's also what? Disagree. Okay, so let me show you another one. Question number 3. Now this one has 2 sentences. One stops at available. You can see that full stop. And the other one stops at what? Claim. Or you can see the full stop there. So that's how it works. That's how it goes. So you have let me show you another one, maybe 2 others, so you can have a thorough understanding of this. So for question 4, there's optional here. I mean, the first sentence here ends as optional. You can see the full stop there. Then the next one stops at opinion, or you can see that full stop. So, you can see from this example that I've shown you that IELTS essay questions will have either 2 sentences or 3. Now, question 5 here has 3 sentences. So the first one ends in books, the other one ends in not, and you have this one that ends in disadvantages. So 3 sentences. So I've shown you 5 questions, and some have 2 sentences and some have 3, and that's how it will always play out. So whenever you see an IELTS Writing Task 2 question, you are going to have either 2 sentences or 3. Now, what does that tell us? What does that tell us? So what that tells us is, if a question has 3 sentences, if a question has 3 sentences, so that will mean that the question has sentence number 1, sentence number 2, as well as sentence number 3. I mean, if a question has 3 sentences, it has number 1, it has number 2, and it has number 3. And if a question has 2 sentences, that will mean that the question has sentence number 1 and sentence number 2. Okay. Now remember, don't lose focus of what I'm saying. Don't lose focus of what I'm trying to achieve here. I'm trying to tell you how to write the first part of your introductory paragraph in an IELTS essay, and that is the background statement. How do you write it? So that's what I'm explaining to you. So I'm saying that first and foremost, understand that the question itself, the question that you want to answer, will have either 2 sentences or 3 sentences. So if the question has 2 sentences or 3 sentences, let me start with that. So if it has 3 sentences, that would mean that it has sentence number 1 and also sentence number 2. And if the question has 2 sentences, that means it has sentence number 1 and sentence number 2. I showed you examples already, so you already know what I'm talking about. Now, how does this help us? Now, how it helps us is this. If the question has three sentences, like you have number 1 and 2, so if that's three sentences, pick the first two sentences. Okay, but if the question has two sentences, pick the first one. I mean, to write the background statement of your introductory paragraph in a three-sentence question, pick the first two sentences. And in a two-sentence question, pick the first one. So that means that if you were dealing with a question like this, for example, now this first question has two sentences. So because it has two sentences, you have to pick the first sentence, all right, to write your background statement. And in a situation like this, where you have two sentences, all right, like this one, you 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 pick the first two sentences. So you pick this one underlined in red, and you pick the one underlined in blue, and so they are the first two sentences. So you always leave the last sentence. Now, when you pick the first sentence in a two-sentence question, or you pick the first two sentences in a three-sentence question, what are you doing with them? Now, what you're doing with them is you paraphrase them, or you paraphrase it, or you paraphrase them. So when you do that, when you paraphrase the first sentence or the first two sentences, that will give you your what? Your background statement. So what I'm saying in essence is, now you have a question like this, okay? And so you want to answer this question. So this is a two-sentence question, all right? And the first thing that you have to do if you want to write your introduction is to write your background statement. Now, to write that background statement, because this is a two-sentence question, just pick the first sentence and paraphrase it. That means when you paraphrase this sentence, underline in red, that will give you your background statement in your introductory paragraph. And if you are dealing with a question like this second question that has three sentences, all you just have to do is to pick the first two sentences and paraphrase them. So when you do that, that will give you the background statement in your introductory paragraph. So the key word here is the word paraphrase. That's the key here. Now, what does it mean to paraphrase? Now, to paraphrase means to say exactly the same thing in another way. That's the meaning of the word paraphrase. It means to say the same thing in another way. So it means to express and convey essentially the same idea in a different form. So what that means is, if you were dealing with a question like this, for example, you pick the first sentence that you have here. Okay, so the ideas, the concept, and the idea expressed in this question, you look for another way, your own way to express this same concept, to express this same idea. And so when you do that, you would have paraphrased. Okay, and if you were dealing with a situation like this where you have a three-sentence question, you pick the sentence on the line in red and you pick the one on the line in blue. So the concept, the essential ideas expressed in these questions, you express them in your own way. So when you do that, when you express them in another way, in your own way, that will mean that you are paraphrasing. So that is what paraphrasing is. It means to say the same thing in a different way, to convey the same idea in a different way. So, for example, if I say I want to urinate and you say I want to use the restroom, you would have paraphrased what I say because you will have conveyed the same idea that I expressed, albeit in a different way. So that's what paraphrasing is all about. That's what paraphrasing is all about. Okay, so how do you paraphrase? Because I just explained to you what paraphrasing is. Now, how do you do it? So that's the next question that we've got to answer. How do you paraphrase? Now, for you to paraphrase, there are three things that you've got to do. When you want to paraphrase, there are three things that you can and you should do. Now, the first thing or the first aspect of paraphrasing is the use of synonyms. All right, so you paraphrase by using synonyms. Now, what does this mean? Synonyms are words that are similar in meaning. You know, the English language is so rich that sometimes you can have up to 5, 6, or even 10 words that can be used to express the same concept, the same idea. And so it means that if you see a word in a question, you can think about how you can use your own way to express the same idea expressed in the question. I mean, other words that mean the same thing as the words that you have in the question. So once you do that, you will be paraphrasing. That's what we mean by synonym. Now, let me give you a very simple example. If I say something like, be fast about it, be fast about it, you can say, be quick about that. All right? Be quick about it. Now, in this context, I have used quick to replace what fast because they are synonymous. They mean the same thing. So that's what I said a while ago. So you look at the words you have in the question and try to figure out how you can use your own words to replace the words that you have in the question. That will be the use of synonyms. And so that's not the only thing that you can do when you want to paraphrase. When you want to paraphrase, you also change word order you also change word order, or you change sentence structures. When you say word order here, will mean sentence structure. So sometimes you attempt to change the structure of the sentence, the order of the words, all in a bit to paraphrase. Now, let me give you a simple example of this. If I say in the evening, all right, in the evening, I will phone you, for example. If I say I will phone you in the evening, and then I can also say, yeah, I can say I will phone you in the evening. Now, these two sentences, you will agree with me, they mean the same thing. All right, they mean exactly the same thing. I will phone you in the evening. In the evening, I will call you. In the evening, I will phone you. But the difference is the order of the words have changed. Now, this one starts with in the evening, whereas this one starts with what I will phone you. This one ends with I will phone you. This one ends with what in the evening. So this is what we mean by changing sentence structure. So sometimes you can think about how you can reorganize the words that you have in the sentence to change their order and change their position. That's also part of paraphrasing. Okay, then finally, if you want to paraphrase, you can also do what we call change in word form. Change in word form. Now, this is different from change in word order for a reason. Now, in changing word form, on the set of fact that we have what we call word family in English. So there's this concept of word family in English. English words have family members. All right, and so let me give you a simple example. Let's assume you have the word fury, for instance. So you have the word fury. Okay. Now there are other family members of the word fury. An example is the word furious. Furious. So apart from furious, you have furiously. So apart from furiously, you have infuriate. Apart from infuriate, you have infuriating. So you can also have infuriating. Apart from infuriating, you can have infuriated, and so on and so forth. So these are family members. So what it means is sometimes, let's assume, for example, that you come across a person that has word furious, and you are looking for a synonym for furious, and somehow you are not able to get it. So, so if that happens, instead of you getting stuck, you can think about how you possibly, maybe you should use infuriate or fury, all right, to replace furious. I'm not saying you can always use fury and fury and infuriate to replace furious. That's not what I'm saying. It depends on the context. So there are times you can use them. So you can think about, okay, how you can change some things so that fury can be used to replace furious, or infuriate can be used to replace furious, for example. So when you do that, that will be a change in word form. Now, for example, let me give you an example of this. So let's assume I say something like, I'm confident in your ability. I am confident in your ability to pass the exam. I'm confident in your ability to pass the exam. I can also say, I have confidence, or I have confidence in your ability to pass the examination. Now, when you say I am confident, or when you say I am confident, that's an adjective. Confident is an adjective. But when you say I have confidence, confidence is a noun. But they are different forms of the same words. That would mean that if I use confidence, in the place of confident, it means that I will have used a different form of the same word. So this is a change in word form. And that's also something that you do when you want to paraphrase. So these are the three things that paraphrasing entails in IELTS. These are the ways that you can paraphrase. But let me show you an example of this so it can be clearer to you. So let me show you an example of a question that I paraphrased. Okay, so this is a question. In many countries, the level of crime is increasing and crimes are becoming more violent. Why do you think this is, and what can be done about it? Now, up above is a question, right? Then down below is my response, is my introductory paragraph. And in this introductory paragraph, I'm going to have my background statement, of course, as well as my thesis statement. So what I would do, based on what I've just explained to you, is that because this is a two-sentence question, I will have to pick the first sentence and then paraphrase it. That will become my background statement. So the sentence on the line in red, that's the first sentence here. So I will pick that sentence and then I will paraphrase it, and that will give us my background statement. So this one. Now, let's take a look at the question again. So it says, in many countries, the level of crime is increasing and crimes are becoming more violent. Why do you think this is and what can be done about it? So I picked the first question that ends at violent. And so take a look at this. Here I said crime rate is soaring in several nations and the degree of violence is escalating. Now you will agree with me that the sentence underlined in red here and the one underlined in red here are conveying essentially the same idea. They are saying the same thing. So this is the meaning of paraphrase. This means that I'm paraphrasing because I've expressed the same idea expressed in this question in a different way, in my own way. So that's what it means. Okay, but then how did I do it? How did I paraphrase here? Let me show you something. No, the word rate that I use here, do you notice it's not in the original question? The rate is not there. Instead, I've used rate to replace the word level. All right, so I use rate to replace level. And notice also that the word soaring is not in the original question. I brought in soaring here to replace what? Increasing. Okay, so you notice that the word increasing is not the word soaring is not in the question. So I use increasing. All right, to replace. I use soaring to replace increasing. Then the word violence. I'm sorry about that. It's just to get something together. So the word several here is not in the question. I've used several to replace many. Okay. Then nations is not in the original question. Instead, I've used nations to replace what? Countries. Okay. And so using rate to replace level, using soaring to replace increasing, using several to replace many, and nations for countries, they are instances of the use of synonyms because they are synonymous terms. So that is the use of synonym. But that's not the only thing that I did here. Now take a look at this. You know, here I told you I said I used rate to replace level, right? But notice that in the question, level is coming before crime in the question. But in my response, I've used the word rate, all right, to replace level. But notice that the rate I use to replace level is coming after crime. Whereas the level is coming before crime in the original question. In my response, the rate I use to replace level is now coming after the crime. So that means that the order of the words has changed. Okay. And apart from that, this question, all right, the crime is in the middle in the question. Crime is in the middle in the question, but in my response, I brought crime to the beginning. But that's not all. The question starts with what? In many countries, which I have changed to in several nations. All right, which I have changed to in several nations, but beyond that, I've removed it from the beginning. I've pushed it to the middle. So this is a meaning of change in what form. I've changed the form of the words. I've changed the position of the words. So a change in what order? I'm sorry. So I have changed the position of the words. I've changed the structure of the sentence. So that's the second thing I told you that you can do when you want to paraphrase, change word order, change sentence structure. All right. So I've shown you that. But again, that's not the only thing that I did. In this example, I also changed word form. Now let me show that to you. Now, in the original question, you have where it says and crimes are becoming more violent. So the word violent is used here. Violent is an adjective. But in my response, I said the degree of violence is escalating. So I use violence in place of the adjective violent. So this is the meaning of change in word form. So you can see that these three things that I explained to you are manifesting the example I just showed you. I use synonyms. I use synonyms. I change sentence structure. I also change word form. So that's how you paraphrase. So as it stands, this sentence right here in red, this is my background statement in my introductory paragraph. Now remember, I said this is my introductory paragraph. Assuming I were to write this essay, I were to respond to this question. So this one that you see here will be my introductory paragraph. And in this introductory paragraph, the one underlined in red here will be my background statement. And so you notice that how I coined it, all right, how I derived it from the first sentence that you had in this two-sentence question. So your background statement will always be a derivative of the question. Now, let me take you back a little bit before I move it forward. Now, remember, I said something. I said, if you want to write your introductory paragraph and IELTS essay, there are two things you have to put together. So there are two components to the introductory paragraph. So I said the first one is a background statement, and the second one is a thesis statement. Now, I just finished discussing with you, explaining to you how you write your background statement. Now, let's delve into how you write your thesis. So to write your thesis statement in an IELTS essay, now you remember I told you something that if you have a two-sentence question, I think I still have that here. Yeah. So as I told you, I said if you have a two-sentence question, pick the first sentence and leave the last one. Then I said if you have a three-sentence question, pick the first two and leave the last one. So you pick the first sentence in a two-sentence question and the first two sentences in a three-sentence question to derive your background statement. So you paraphrase them to get your background statement. Now, the last sentence of the questions, that's what you convert into your thesis statement, the second component of your introductory paragraph, your thesis statement. So the last sentence of the question, that's what you convert into your thesis statement. Now, that last question, all right, is called task. So that means in these examples I showed you earlier, all right, let me show you those two examples again. So that means this, in the first question, the sentence underlined in green here, that's the last sentence of this question. So this is what I will come. So in this first sentence, the one underlined in green, that is my thesis statement. That's the last sentence of this question. So this is what I will convert into my thesis statement. Now for this other one, the one here, all right, the last sentence that you have here, that's the last sentence in this three-sentence question. So that's the one I will convert into my thesis statement. Now let me tell you how that is done. That last sentence is called task. So the last sentence of the question is called task, and the task will always ask you to do something. All right. So the task will always ask you to do something. So what you just have to do is whatever the task has asked you to do, you will tell them you want to do it. Now, in the last sentence, which is called task, they will tell you to do something. Okay. Now, you just have to tell them that whatever it is that they have asked you to do, you want to do it. So that will become your thesis statement. Now, let me use this analogy that can help you to understand this. Assume that your 3-year-old daughter, let's say your 5-year-old daughter, tells you that, Daddy or Mommy, when you are coming from work tomorrow, buy me ice cream. So this morning on your way to work, you tell your child, your daughter, that Angel, on my way back from work today, I'll buy you an ice cream. So that will mean that you have told the child that you want to do what the child has asked you to do. The child asked you to buy an ice cream, and you have said, I will buy you an ice cream. So the same thing plays out here. So in the last sentence of the questions, they will always tell you to do something. So you have to find a way to tell them that you want to do whatever it is that they have asked you to do. That will become your thesis statement. Let me show you an example so you can get this. Now, this one I showed you earlier, the question says, in many countries, the level of crime is increasing and crimes are becoming more violent. Why do you think this is? And what can be done about it? And so here, this last sentence of the question says, why do you think this is? Now, this is a way of saying that, what are the causes of this? Tell us the causes of this. That's the meaning of why do you think this is? And then they say, what can be done about this way of saying that, what solutions can you suggest? What can be done about it? So in essence, this question, all right, asked me to discuss the causes of increase in crime rate and solutions to it. That's what I'm being asked to talk about here. Now take a look at what I did here. I said in this essay, I will discuss the causes of this disturbing trend. Now, did you notice that? Here they said, why do you think this is? Tell us the causes. So I said, in this essay, I will discuss the causes of this disturbing trend. Then I said, and also suggest solutions. All right, and also suggest solutions. And so, because they said, what can be done about it? Tell us solutions. So I said, I will suggest solutions. So in essence, I have told them here that I want to do whatever it is that they have asked me to do. So this is now my thesis statement. So in summary, this is my introductory paragraph. Okay, now the first part underlined in red, that's my background statement, and that is derived from the first sentence that you have in the question. And the one underlined in green is my thesis statement, and that is derived from the last sentence that you have in the question. So that's how you write your introductory paragraph, because according to the formula I gave you here, you see I said introduction equals background statement plus thesis statement. So I've shown you the background statement here. I've shown you the what? The thesis. So this is now an introduction, or my introduction. But you notice that they are both derivatives of the question. Now let me show you an example of a three-sentence question. It's the same thing, really, the same thing. But let me just show you that example in case you are wondering. Now, the question here says, well, in many countries, smoking in public has become illegal. In many countries, smoking in public has become illegal. It is only fair that people who should smoke will have to leave the building. Do you agree or disagree? Okay, so here, the sentence on the line in red here, that's what I paraphrase into this. So you notice that I changed word order. First and foremost, smoking in public is in the middle here. I brought it to the word to the beginning. Here they said has become illegal. I changed that to what? Has been outlawed. Here they said in many countries. I changed that to what? In several nations. So you see me using synonyms and changing sentence structure. That's paraphrasing. Then apart from that, here they said it is only fair that people who should smoke will have to leave the building. So coming here, I said something. I said some argue that it is justifiable for smokers to vacate the premises before smoking. So this is a paraphrase of this, all right? Because when they say it is fair, I said the word is justifiable. All right. Here it says people who wish to smoke. I said smokers. Here they said, or we'll have to leave the building. I said vacate the premises. So that's use of synonyms. And so what this here, they said, do you agree or disagree? Here, they're asking for my opinion. They're asking for me to present my opinion. So that's why here I said, I strongly agree with this, and I will justify my position in the ensuing paragraph. So that means I agree, and I will tell you why I agree. So that's the meaning of I will justify my position in the ensuing paragraphs. I agree, and I will tell you why I agree. So this is how it works. This is how you write introductory paragraphs in IELTS essay. So I do believe it's clear to you. If you do have any question, you can drop your questions in the comment section, and I may have to make another video to address your question if there's a need for that. And so that's that. So I do hope you learned something from this. You can learn much more if you subscribe to the channel, so you can always get videos from me. So you can click on that if you haven't done it. So thank you so much for watching. So see you again in the next video.